ladies and gents, we're back, and we're talking Chainsaw Man. Yes. Am I the only one that no matter how many times I rewatch an episode, I just can't skip the intro?
I mean, that's me with every anime though. So
See, some anime intros I can skip. Like I find them that like I've listened to it enough. It's been going on for like forever, so I'm good. I can skip it. I can move on. But like some of them are just there. Like and this one, Kickback, is definitely one of them. And I don't know. I love it. Every time I watch it, also, and I pay attention, I kind of see one more little nuanced thing happening in the background, and it's there's a lot about this show that I'm enjoying now. As someone that has read the book and I'm following the show, it's funny because I thought I was going to be enjoying it more, but I'm enjoying it more when I do a second watch. Does that make sense? Because I'm finding that this show is so dense, like a lot denser than most anime shows. And it requires me to enjoy it because I'm a big thinker in the terms of that. I think way too much and look too much into things because I love analyzing things. And Chainsaw Man has just so much of that that I kind of have to watch it once to just turn off my brain and enjoy it. But I enjoy it more when I watch it a second time and start ripping it apart, which is what we're about to do. So, guys, let's go jump into Chainsaw Man. We're covering episodes 4, Rescue, and episode 5, The Gun Devil. Now, before we jump in overall and talk about Chainsaw Man and stuff like that, AJ, this is your first time on the show. This is your first time talking Chainsaw Man with us. So we both want to know what's your connection to Chainsaw Man in terms of, did you read the book and were excited for it to come out? Were you just excited for it to come out and was waiting for the anime to experience it for the first time? And what are your thoughts of the show so far?
for me, I did read the manga at first,
Are you
and
caught up?
yes, I am caught up right now.
Nice.
And when this was announced, I was very, very, very excited for this. It was, I would say, my second most anticipated anime of this year after Bleach, because we just waited so long for Bleach, regardless. So that's that. But Chainsaw Man, yeah, right now it's for me. The quality of the anime right now feels like an entire movie. Like they just put their
Yes.
entire budget on this show, and it just looks so good. I love it. Um, for me also, it they got everything perfectly down to all the characters. From Denji, love Power, just very charismatic as always. Just love her. Aki, I love him too.
Yeah. Stuck up bastard.
Yo, that episode when he just spit on Denji and just that was so
Yo.
disrespectful, so disrespectful. But
He deserved that kick in the balls.
he
He
did,
did.
he
He
did.
did.
Not gonna lie, he did, he did.
I mean, he probably won't be able to have kids though. But
He's not worried about that anyway, so it's fine.
bet.
But yeah, I this show is amazing to me. It's incredible how they can just make these shows into like movie quality, but when we get movies that can't even get to their movie quality, like Dragon Ball. I'm not gonna get into all that right
Ouch.
now, but
Ouch.
it's
Yeah,
crazy to me. It's just crazy to me that the budget is lower than usual, but it's still you can still see how much effort the animators put into the show.
Yeah.
as much as I enjoyed Dragon Ball Super Superhero, the animation is certainly not that strong suit in that movie.
Yes. It's very a downgrade from Dragon Ball Super Broly. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm glad you guys brought that up because we talked a little bit about the future of animation a while back and the choices that a lot of studios are making in terms of how do they enhance the experience of watching these shows, right? And one of the greatest strengths of Chainsaw Man, and I'm going to mention it also when we talk about Bleach, because Bleach is doing a lot of stuff right, right? If not, I would say everything right. But the one thing that Chainsaw Man is doing right is that their focus is not as much to enhance the animation as it is to capture the mangaka's intent in the animation as good as best as possible. Does that make sense? Like there's no distinction between the panels and the series.
Yeah, I would say the art style is what stands out the most.
Yeah,
It's
and they're using and what they're doing, and the cool thing is that there's a lot of like Tatsuki Fujimoto, the way he draws, it's very nuanced. Like there's a lot of personality to the drawings and a lot of personality in the terms of trying to capture the character's mood. Does that make sense? Like he has a way of capturing the character. Like when you see a character that he draws, you can already tell, okay, this person's intention, or this person is scared, or this person is excited. Like he has a way of transmitting so much of that in just a black and white manga panel, and I think that that's one of the things that they're doing a great job in this, because the only reason they use the advancements of 3D animation is to enhance everything that's already there. So and when you go to something like Dragon Ball Superhero, I don't know, there's a lot of supers there. It's like they made the 3D animation goal like this is the way we're telling the story, period.
yeah.
As opposed like in Super Broly, because I did see that movie, is that they use the strengths of their animation style and just use the CG to enhance that. So even when you saw the CG, it really didn't stagger. It didn't stagger the experience, and it didn't really turn you off. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Yeah, like because you know how
Agreed.
and it takes me back to and the funny thing is with Studio, I wonder if Mappa took a lesson from Wit Studio, because as you guys know, Studio Wit did Attack on Titan from seasons 1 to 3, right? I think it was. So one of the big causes of concern and complaints from a lot of the fans was the idea of doing a lot of Titans CG only, which happened a lot with like Colossal Titan, the big Titan in season 3 and stuff like that. And you can notice that they kind of listen to the studio, they kind of listen to the fans, because by the end of season 3, the Titans look a lot more refined, even though there's a lot of CG in there. But now when you get to the final season, and Mappa does it, they found a way to make the CG Titans work. Does that make sense? Like there's a lot of motion capture and stuff like that, and enhances the experience. It doesn't turn it back. So Mappa is now showing a lot of the stuff that they've employed in Final Attack on Titan, things they've done for Jujutsu Kaisen and other animes. And I feel like Chainsaw Man has gotten, it's kind of the fruits of everything they've learned. Does that make sense? Because it feels so cinematic. Nothing takes away from the experience of what you're enjoying, and I'm having a great time watching this show.
I will say that even though the look, like the character designs are great with the CG design, my only issue is that the animation itself of the CG is still a little bit off.
You mean like with the Titans or here?
Oh, for Chainsaw Man. So
Chainsaw Man. Okay.
So when you look at I would say Chainsaw Man as a character.
Mm-hmm.
The design itself looks good.
Yeah.
But my issue is the animation of the CG is still a little off to me, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
For me, it doesn't match the backgrounds or any of the other characters at all.
Oh, like it stands out a lot?
Yeah, it stands out way too much for itself. But I think it does get a little bit better when you actually see him fight the the Bat Devil.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
It's definitely a lot better from the first episode to what was the Bat Devil episode? Third episode?
Yeah, the third episode. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like in the first in the pilot episode, there is a lot of when he actually becomes Chainsaw Man. It feels like a CG character inside of an animated show,
Yeah.
as opposed to like especially there's moments there when he's standing still.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you kind of notice it. But once you have him moving and jumping around and doing all this, it kind of flows a lot better because everything looks blurry because it's going so fast. But I get what you're saying. I think you're right, and I think by the time you get to the Bad Devil fight, it does look a lot cleaner, a lot. It looks better. So hopefully it's something that gets better over time because I do see what you're saying. And
I do find it strange in animation as a whole, though, that they still can't get CG right. But when you get to like Disney or Americanized CG, it's more refined, more so. I'm not sure if it's just the technology itself that's a bit outdated over there than over here. But
I think it's more with the combination of the mediums because hand-drawn animation, it's always going to look distinctively different. Yeah, there's like, for example, like there's no way that you put Vash the Stampede from Trigun and Vash the Stampede from Trigun Stampede.
Yeah.
And unless you know what you're looking at, and apart from key features, they don't look like the same character. They don't feel like the same character. I mean, we haven't seen anything about it, but you know what I mean? It's because those are two very different worlds. So I think the trick is, I think there's always going to be a degree of discrepancy there, I think. And I think it's the best studios find a way to make compromise to make it as seamless as possible.
Yeah.
And like, for example, one of the decisions that I found great is that in this episode, when the Leech Devil starts attacking or threatens to attack, and Denji tries to go full chainsaw, he doesn't have a CG chainsaw coming out of his head. You know what I mean? Like, it was an animated chainsaw. Then it didn't look weird throughout. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, but I get what you're saying. And I think what I like about it is that they use it in very specific moments. For every time they use it, there's a purpose for it. And I think you either like it or you don't. But I think that overall, everything they're doing is so great that you can those are the kind of things you forgive, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now going into the episode, so this is the conclusion of the Meowy arc. That's what we're going to call it, and it's either the Meowy arc or the Boobs Man show. So
that's still ongoing. That's still ongoing, but yeah.
The arc you had to save the pussy to
whoa.
I mean, it's
on our bi-weekly review of Boob Grab Man. Yes. Now so we pick up directly where it left off, where he slays the Bat Devil because he will not die until he cops a feel. And but now here's the thing about Chainsaw Man. It's ridiculous, right? We all know that Denji's doing all of these things because he wants to grab a boob. He's never done it before. He's always wanted to do it. But he's trying to do this to cop a feel, right? It's a fact. No one can deny it. And I love how it has this Fooly Cooly quality, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of Fooly Cooly. Friends of the show know this. And it's that it creates these outrageous situations that are ridiculous and funny and derogatory to a degree. But there's a lot of interesting truths that the author wants to talk to the audience about. but he does this through this ridiculousness, right? And I want to read something here that literally is these is verbatim stuff that Denji says as he's fighting with the Leech Devil, and he says, "I guess your fancy dreams make you guys hot shit." And then he says, "But if I murderize you, that means that your dreams are weaker than fondling a tit." Now, that line is so powerful because one of the arguments, and it's funny because it actually coincides with One Piece, is that the main thesis of One Piece is chase your dreams, whatever they are. Can we all agree on that?
Yep.
That's like the main thesis of that whole book, and it just becomes amazing because you keep adding new areas, new places, new characters, and it just expands and expands and expands. But that's like the driving force of that, right? No matter how big the scale gets to, apart from the fact that they're fighting dragons now, even though I'm not cut up, but but the fact that this is still a show where we're presented to a guy that's just dreaming of a better life, and his dreams seem small. And I love the argument that this show, in a way, is also about dreams or the idea of dreams. And I think one of the most important messages of the show, which is very interesting that the author is communicating it this way, is that the size of the dream doesn't matter. It's what you're willing to do to make it happen. Which or what you're willing to, which is kind of like a Lex Luthor quote, like he's willing to do whatever it means to be the better man, right? Even if it includes genocide and a bunch of evil stuff because he's Lex Luthor. But I find that to be an interesting conversation. Did you guys catch that as you were watching the show, like this commentary in the background?
For me personally, I did not see that. I like the way you're going with that, but for me, I think it's the entire concept of making fun of dreams is the thing that I saw most of. It's the fact that Denji dream is not even a dream; it's just a want, basically.
Right.
He just wants to do it, and to get to the fact that he gets it eventually, he just loses all motivation after that. It's like, I don't care about anything else. I'm just going to zone out, basically. Right. And the quote you just said, I don't even think any of the other characters have dreams. They just have revenge thoughts and all of that. They don't really care about the future. They just want the end of Devils, and that's it. They don't really care about their lives, except for who is Aki's teacher?
The one who goes wielding one.
He hasn't been introduced in the show yet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So no spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you talked about.
I'll say that.
One-eyed chick.
No, not Himeno. Himeno was a partner. He learned a lot from her, but it wasn't like a teacher, really, apart from bad habits. But, spoiler. But I'm glad that you mentioned that, the idea of dreams and also making fun of dreams. Now, we could even simplify this even further, right? There's a conversation about goals here. Mm-hmm. And like, you can say that you want something, but are you willing to do what it takes to get it?
Yeah.
Are you willing to do what's needed to fondle a tit? That's the question. I mean, that sounds very perverse. That is not our intention. We're examining art, people. We're not trying to. we're not trying to encourage people to fondle tits.
Wait, hold on. There is no man on this earth that does not. Let's be real here. Unless you're gay, there is no man on earth that didn't want to fondle tits. Come on now.
Truth.
If somebody rejects this notion, they're in denial. They are in denial. Just saying.
I don't know why, but Isaac is laughing because he's so proud of your statement of Boobgate. Boobgate, the Chainsaw Man. Yes.
If Mike was here, he was just go bad, bad.
Yes.
He's just
But
trying to be nice. He knows what it is.
yes.
We know what it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
I
no,
know.
there's a point that you have a point. And that's the kind of thing that makes Denji so interesting because like you mentioned, like Denji doesn't have a dream, he has a want, right? But we can't forget that this is a kid that had nothing.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know, like to him, having the littlest thing is a big dream.
Everything. It's everything. Yeah.
Right. So it goes back to that conversation that he has with Aki in the hospital in this episode too, where he literally tells Aki, "I may not dream as big as you guys, and I may not have like this big thing to fight for like you guys, but I am as serious as y'all. I am as serious as you can ever be about anything." Which again goes back to the idea that, there's a lot of people that, you can talk the talk, but if you don't walk the walk, then you can just shut up. And it's such a basic principle in life, which I just find so interesting, that this is the kind of conversation that he's hiding, that the mangaka is hiding between all this boob nonsense. Which again, words to live by. Boobgate. But
And not to forget, you just talk about this. Denji really didn't really have any parents to begin with anyway. So
Right.
his immaturity is still in this age right now. He is still a little kid at heart. And
Right. Naive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's been manipulated nonstop since he lost his dad at whatever age.
yeah.
So like he's lived all his life, people telling him what to do, and he really didn't think for himself. I mean, he's think for himself, but he still lived
He had no
chained or imprisoned to other people. So this is like the first time he gets some type of independence, and sometimes you have to dream boob before you can dream bigger.
something bigger. Yeah.
Yes.
It can be anything, but something bigger than just.
Exactly. Something very specific, like he says in episode 5. But we're going to get to there in a minute. Now, so he's fighting the Leech Devil. He's having a dream battle, which, by the way, sounds so Spice Girls. Like, he can be such the cheesiest guy, but then he has Chainsaw coming at head. I love Denji. He's great. Now, one of the things that this episode starts with is the whole flashback for Power. Now, what I find interesting about Power's character is we learn that demons just want the death of humans, right? But the one thing about fiends that's interesting is that fiends are like a mixture, is when a devil takes control of a human's body. So in Power, when she has this whole like monologue about blood and what she learns from it, it's like without she understanding it or knowing it, it's like even though she's a demon, she's understanding the kind of things that humans find pleasant, which is why she's saving Meowy, because you see her kill all these animals. And originally in episode 3, when she talked about Meowy, she talks about with love and whatever, but she also says, "I want you to get filled up and be strong and fat, so then I can eat you." But now we're seeing this side of her where like she understands that there's something about blood. There's a warmth in blood that's pleasurable, but we all know that blood only stays warm when it's in a live body.
Yeah.
So it's like she's finding a way or a reason to accept life as something that she can respect, even though she lives off blood, which I find it interesting because you have different types of characters. You have Aki that wants to kill devils no matter what, right? You have Denji, which is a human that has the powers of a devil, which again, very important distinction. And then you have fiends like Power, which is the devil that takes control of a human body. and I love how complex these relationships are, and I love how they keep expanding the idea of contracts. And for the first time, we're introduced to the fact that Aki has a contract with a demon. Now, we are thinking of the anime onlys, guys. So when you guys saw this, read this, that devil hunters make deals with contracts. Because think about it, this is the first time this comes to light. Because a lot of the things that we're learning of this world, we're learning through Denji's eyes, right? When you found out that that actual devil hunters make active contracts with demons, how did you guys like that as a means of there's no key or chakra or whatever, is that the power levels or the abilities come from the different contracts that devil hunters have? What do you feel about that dynamic in this world?
Did you want to go first?
Oh, sorry. I mean, it makes sense to have the whole dynamic going with this thing of fight fire with fire, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because then you arguably would make this whole world overly convoluted. That if you have suddenly devils, and then you have angels, and then then you have to explain how the angels work, and then well, I was going. You get what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a simple and reasonable way to have the quote unquote power levels in this.
Yeah.
In this series.
Yeah. AJ.
Yeah, I like the contract thing. There's still a limit to what you can do, based on what that specific devil is. So the stronger the thing is, the concept of whatever the devil is as strong as you can, is the strength that you have, and also. If you form a contract, I really love this idea that you have to sacrifice a part of your body to get that contract.
It comes at a price.
Yes, and it goes to the Full Metal Alchemist type of
equivalent
power.
exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that, and that's also another duality between the rest of the cast and Denji.
Yeah.
Denji didn't have to form a contract with his devil. If anything, the devil saved him so that he didn't have to sacrifice really much anything. Well, technically, he had to sacrifice his heart, but
right.
He
didn't have a heart; he was dead.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It wasn't like there was a contract, but because there was a friendship, like a relationship, it wasn't a harmful contract in a way.
Yeah, it was a contract.
It was like mutually beneficial.
Yeah,
in a good way. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. You're right. I think the most interesting thing about contracts is that the point of a contract is that it's a transaction. It's an agreement or an exchange.
The more power you want, the more you have to give up.
Right. And the type of contract and the type of devil will designate the type of contract. And I love how that adds so much complexity and variety. Like, it's like, as soon as you learn that even the good guys do it this way, right? It's like, it opens like a Pandora's box. Like, oh, wait, this world just got huge, right? Like, and I love how little by little they've been opening the world, like one little side, a little edge at a time. Like a little bit, and now it's just blew up because. So every single devil hunter at a certain level gets a contract. Oh wait, so this person has a contract with this person has a contract with that. Wait, if Makima is that high, who does she have a contract with? You know what I mean? Like it gets you thinking about all these things and makes the world so much deeper and interesting. And I by the way, I do find it so cool that he has to do like the shape of the fox to be able to activate
I
it.
really do love it. Yes.
Yeah, and he just goes, "Con." It's just, that's just great. It's awesome. It's awesome. Um, Now, I like the idea that it's transactional. It varies what they take, what he takes, and stuff like that. The devil that he has. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but another thing that brings up, because it comes back to the fact of contracts, right? The idea that a devil's power is based on how much society fears that one thing. Which I don't know if you ever played Persona 5,
I haven't.
but one of the elements of Persona 5 is society and the zeitgeist, or the heart of society. Like where all the thoughts of society or the state of mind of society become or are examined as one thing, right? And I love how in this episode in particular, there's this little flashback that Aki kind of sees how the different people in the public react to Denji. Like this interaction, and this is not really a spoiler because we're already starting to introduce it, but you and I both know that throughout the book, the author goes out of his way to introduce moments where we're just seeing people talking about Denji. Like how people react to him and what he does is like a very important factor in the story. So I like that angle also, and how that influences devils and stuff like that. It influences the role of Denji as Chainsaw Man. And I don't know. I love the whole contract thing, and it's great. Now, one of the things that I found interesting about this chapter in particular, so we can close it out and go to the next one, is I don't know if you've noticed, what have your thoughts been about the pacing of these episodes so far? Because I was making some observations, and there's a lot of interesting stuff happening with the pacing, and I wanted to see what were your thoughts on it. So far, how have you felt the pacing?
I can't really put my finger on it right now. I would say that it is going a little bit fast, but at the same time, it needs to do that because it goes through the manga type issue. What the issue was with the manga at first, anyway, is that the author was already rushed into finishing his manga to begin with. So I think that's part of the issue. But at the same time, if you're just going from anime to manga, I feel like the pacing is correct by the manga. But at the same time, it still feels rushed because the manga was rushed to begin with to finish it up. It's specifically this anime that's so specific. I can't really put my finger on it at this moment. That I can't really say.
So I'm going to say something to put it in perspective, because I actually went ahead and did the research, because I found something so interesting is that one of the things that I noticed from the get-go, especially from episode 2 onward, because episode 1 is a fantastic premiere, but it's a very cut and dry beginning to end arc, right? It feels like the first movie.
Yeah.
Very clear, not too convoluted. Not a lot happens, but the important things that need to happen. And it's the only episode so far that has been a full 25 minutes, right? So that is only chapter 1. And those that read manga know that most of the times the first chapter in a manga is the longest.
Yeah.
It's either 30, 40, 50, maybe up to 68 pages. Because, of course, they have a lot to do to set up the world. And after that, it goes down to 15, 16 to maybe 23 pages per chapter. So that's one of those things that, of course, affects the pacing and affects the story. But again, it makes sense for the type of shows that they are. Now, so episode 1 is only chapter 1, right? Episode 2 covers chapter 2 and all the way almost to chapter 5.5.
Oh, so it doesn't even finish it.
Ru- That's where I was going with
Ah,
this.
okay.
And then chapter 3 does 5.5 all the way to chapter 8. So they are finding way to do whatever they want with the story, where you can binge it and feel that the connectivity is seamless, and you can watch it individually and still have good cliffhangers.
Oh, and that also helps for even the non-manga readers.
Yeah.
It helps them space it out a little bit as well.
Yeah, and it's super interesting because Mike always takes the time to do this type of exercise for My Hero, and I did it for the first time here because I was kind of looking at the pacing and trying to understand why it does what they do and how they do it, and I noticed this crazy stuff. Wait a minute, so one episode is like 3.5 chapters, the other one's like 5 chapters, and then I just found this so fascinating because so where chapter where episode 2 ends, that's already episode chapter 5.5, and then it keeps on going on chapter 3. So I find it interesting that they're finding these moments to stop, to then move on, to give the proper exposition. That's why the episodes feel so dense. Like if you watch episodes 2, and also you also notice that in this episode 4, it feels like it's at some point it feels like 2 episodes in one, because the first half of that episode feels like it belongs to a different story, and the second half of the episode feels like it belongs to another story. And when you look at it, especially in this chapter, I noticed it. When you go literally to minute number 15, that's the aftermath of the Leech Devil battle, and then it goes all into this whole living situation with Power, which is the whole end of the chapter.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating the way they do it, because it creates, it allows it to be dense, but you don't get lost in it. But it also gives you that sense of there's something new with every episode. But the one thing that I wanted to know over there, everybody listening to this, I wanted y'all to know, do you guys feel sometimes that when you watch the episodes of Chainsaw Man, the shifts in tone come out of nowhere? I think that's why it's happening, because of how they're meshing a lot of chapters together. Now, again, everything is top notch. The content is phenomenal. Like, I'm not complaining about it. But I would say it's an issue if it's an issue, but it's an issue that you can live with, but it is something that they're actively deciding to do. Just like one of the things that they've actively decided to do is to, yeah, right? I'm glad you noticed it, Meta. Thank you for joining us on the stream. And it's something that they're actively, it's an active creative decision, because just like their decision was the opening is not going to inform the story, but every single ending and every single episode is different, and that's going to inform the story. Which, by the way, they're working backwards. Did you find that interesting, AJ? Like, we're getting a different ending with every episode.
Yeah, that is. I actually really enjoy that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that, though.
I mean, it's a perfect way to kind of like, oh, you want to have an special edition for the season 2? Well, here you have a CD or digital album that you can buy for an extra price, kind of deal.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 episode with 12 different songs is pretty much an album in itself.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the fact that they got animators from other studios to animate the different endings, because I don't think they're all from Mappa, or at least there's different groups from Mappa or whatever. But each ending informs the story in one way, shape, or form, informs what's coming or what's happening, what's being teased. And also, I don't know if you guys notice, Chainsaw Man does not have previews. Did you guys notice that?
I really don't look at previews anyway, so
Same.
And I don't usually do that, but I was watching the chapters and everything, and I noticed that, and I find that so peculiar because tell me an anime that doesn't have previews. Like like 90% of anime have previews of what's coming next. Which
I
which
suppose.
which leads me to the idea that because of how much content is being pushed in, you know what this show so far reminds me of? It reminds me of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is a 4-hour movie that you can easily split into 4 parts. Like, I think this is being built like if you wanted to binge the whole season, it's gonna feel like one unit, as opposed to it's gonna feel like just one big unit.
I could see somebody on Reddit making a huge
a huge spread.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Yeah. So this chapter is phenomenal. There's a lot of stuff. Power goes nuts at the house, which is hilarious.
As always.
But of course, so we started with the battle for the dream of one day being a man with a tit in his hand. And how does the episode end, guys? What can you tell me how this episode ends?
He is loading for the. He's embracing impact, so to speak.
Yes. Yes. And what a cliffhanger, right? Like, again, Power is just doing her part in the deal that was made. But she locks him in a bathroom, which, by the way, aggressive. And then he freaks her out. Apart from the fact, okay, let's just think about this though, and how blinded he is with his dreams. He's cleaning her shit that won't come off the toilet.
Nasty.
Yes.
Nasty.
Yes. But she locks in the door. She locks herself in the bathroom with him, tells him that it's time to pay up. So she's paying up her breast for 3 fondles, and the episode ends with she's an angel. Like, how does that make sense? And of course, the ending of this episode is just a tribute of how Power will always be the main character in her story, and she believes she's the main character in every story.
I mean, she's a fiend of her word. What do you want to call it?
Yes. Now, it goes right into episode 5, the Gun Devil, right? And the whole fondle happens. All that happens. He gets 3 fondles, and of course, he learns so much about what women do to trick guys. the tricks of appearances, right? Which again, it's perfectly fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's the magic of makeup and clothing and all that stuff, right? He gets a harsh reality, but one of the things that happens after the 3 squeezes of Power is he feels empty. He was flabbergasted by the fact that it happened, and then he feels empty. And then we have a nice morning with Aki. Oh, no, that was before. Which, by the way, Aki is such an interesting character. But let's fast forward into the main event of this episode, right? Which is when he starts having a conversation with Makima. So, as this conversation went on, because we talked about dreams on the previous episode, right, guys? We talked on the previous episode that we cover right now, episode 4, him fighting for his dreams. His dreams may be smaller, but he's going to fight for them with the same seriousness as everybody else. And then his dream is fulfilled because he fondled, and he now feels empty. which again proposes another philosophical and interesting question, which is the journey more important than the goal? Like, this kid is having these such profound questions, which is very interesting, even though he just did what he wanted to do. But what do you guys think about this internal analysis that Denji's having?
I mean, it makes. I mean, it makes sense that you would think about when you have found a goal. What else do you have to do, kind of deal? Because we always, it's sort of like a goal. A goal is what keeps on us going, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the main reason of main appeal of One Piece. You follow Luffy's journey and to get the One Piece, and and then and it won't be the same sort of like if they would be to continue once that the One Piece is found.
Right. Right. And like, especially now where that particular journey has taken us to so many wondrous places and locations, right? You could even say that the whole thing about Gold Roger's initial intent was, I just wanted people to explore and live life to the fullest. Which, again, it would be kind of a cop-out, but at the same time, I wouldn't blame it because it kind of goes with the thesis of the show, right? Now, of course, he's not telling this to just anybody. He's telling this to Makima. Now, what happens next, it's pretty intense for anybody. Because I think we can all agree here that 14, 15, 16-year-old us would have probably reacted the same way as Denji reacted.
Yep.
Can we all raise our hands?
Yep.
like not only, so she was very tender, very nice in terms of just asking him like, hey, like kind of big sister, like kind of like, hey, let me finish. Calm down. I'm not playing the Yuri incest card. That's not what I'm doing. Calm down, you Game of Thrones. What I'm trying, let me finish. But of course, that's before we see her intent, right? Because as she asks and Denji says, I had this dream, I had this goal. My goal was to touch a boob. I did it, and I feel empty. And I think it's kind of bullshit that I feel empty because I got what I wanted. And then suddenly, she goes to answer the question. And I love how the character of Makima is so interesting. Because in the beginning, we do see her as someone that kind of rescues Denji, right? But from the get-go, we know that she's talking to him like a dog, like an animal. Like, we know that from the start. But when you see her interacting with everybody else, like Power, and you see him interacting with Aki, you can clearly see that Makima has a leash on everybody around her. So she's just a puppet master. She just finds ways to say what they want to hear to keep him happy. Like that moment where she, in the previous episode, where she approves for Power to join Aki and Denji in the apartment. And Aki's just freaking out because Power's being stupid. And she simply says, "You're the one that I trust the most." You can see Aki blushing. And he goes, "Okay." Again, super simp moment on Aki's side. Aki's like super leader, super cute, super tidy, but also a huge simp for Makima. Like it's, if you thought that he was just being an asshole to Denji before, I think it's confirmed. Am I wrong? Like he just will do anything for that woman. But it kind of goes to show how she has everybody around wrapped around her finger. So based on that, she literally tells Denji what he wants to hear. And she says, it's not that the journey doesn't matter, it's that it depends who you take the journey with. And of course, because he's a 15-year-old horny kid, she uses a sex analogy.
I mean, she's kind of right also.
And she's 100% right. She's 100% right. But we know she's not teaching sex ed. That's not what she's doing. She's playing into this guy's hormones. Like it's just crazy. It's just crazy. When you guys saw this whole thing play out, which by the way is almost panel per panel how it happens in the book, which I love. What was your guys' first reaction when all this happened?
Well, you also gotta think about the huge philosophical question: the want versus the need.
Yes.
We all know that he wants the want, and Makima knows what he wants.
Yeah.
And I just feel like throughout this episode, she was trying to stir him the way from the need and get him to the want, to get him to want some more instead of get him to where he needs to be at. And I really, really like this because this also speaks to Makima's characterization of her using everybody, especially Denji and everybody. And you can also see this with everybody's past, that she's using their past experiences to get what she wants or to get what she needs, I would say. And uses everybody's wants and I just feel like everybody's wants is something that's not even just superficial. I think Denji is the only one that's really superficial and everybody else's is valid, but it's still a want and not really a need for everybody else. Whereas Makima knows what she needs and she's using everybody else to get to that point. Right. And you can see hints of that within this episode, and I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great way of like Makima always has a double standard.
Yeah.
You know, she always has something up her sleeve, which they're very long sleeves. And I love how go ahead.
I mean, she's the I guess you can call her the perfect manipulative dominatrix in this regard.
Right. It's funny that you say that because it's on one side, right? I find it interesting that she's manipulating everybody using their grief, and she's also manipulating Denji, and how that informs the character of Denji is that the only thing that Denji has been throughout his whole life is manipulated. He doesn't know how to exist without that. So to him, it makes perfect sense the type of transactional interaction that he has with people. It doesn't surprise him that all relationships could be transactional. Mm-hmm. Because the only real relationship that we ever had was with Poshita. You know, which again also kind of started with the transaction. So like he's used to that type of nuance, and I like how as he starts to ask himself these questions and explore a different way to live his life, you know what I mean? Someone comes back and says, oh no, this is the answer here, now just follow me so you can get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that line about sex, about the idea of literally saying the better you know the person, the better it is, which of course it's 100% the truth. But also it plays into the idea that no, the journey, the destination only is amazing if you have the journey with the right person. Which is kind of like, again, using the right words, like you were saying, to get him in her thing. Which, again, After all this happens, she not only does the whole thing with the hands and the ear and the biting and all of the stuff that still happened, which is great. And then when she puts his hand on her boob, and then he just jumps out, freaked out, you think that she's going to try and insinuate more, but then she applies the ultimate icebreaker. Can I ask you something? Because again, she just wants something. That was just the way to create a captive audience, which again, if you want to have a captive audience from a 15-year-old, that's the way to do it. Which is horrible and hilarious. But from there, we're introduced to the next arc, which we find out about the Gun Devil. And what a great way of not only giving us a somewhat of a main antagonist, which we didn't have before, right? Uniting all the different characters in the show in the same direction, which we didn't have before, but also built upon the facts of the world, where what led to this gun devil being so powerful is because everybody feared guns. And that's why it was so powerful that it did as much damage as it is. And what a great way to just incorporate Aki's backstory, which was brilliant and almost panel for panel. When you guys read this for the first time, did your feelings against Aki change in any way? Do you still feel him to be stuck up, or did you ease on him a little bit?
He's still definitely stuck up. But when I read that chapter, I wouldn't say I sympathize with him. He's still a dick. But, but at the same time,
nice.
You can't just help but feel bad for him, like, especially for what happened. Yep. It's a terrible thing to happen, and it's a terrible past. So I can't say, or maybe I can't say, he's still a dick. I'm gonna keep saying this. He's still a dick, 100% a dick.
Yeah.
But that scene was strong. That scene was, oh my god. That scene was strong. He's even a dick to his brother. Hold on, no, I'm not going to sympathize with him. No, he's even a dick to his brother. So no, I'm just going to stay.
Yes.
I'm just going to stay on that.
Yes. And again, it's like he was the typical jealous kid that was jealous of his little brother because he was getting all the attention, but he was getting all the attention because he was sick.
He was like, I don't care.
Yeah, like, I want to play with dad, but damn it. Yeah, he was. You're right. He's a dick. He was a dick through and through. He's still a dick, but there's some emotion.
Yeah,
deep inside.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
This dick. So, but yeah, no, I agree. Like, I like the backstory. I think what you get more from the story is why he renders himself somewhat emotionless. And it's not till he interacts more with Power and Denji that his emotions kind of come out, in a sense.
Yeah.
Because even when you get that, I'll be right with you, Isaac. Even when you get that flashback towards the end of the episode where him and Himeno met, you can tell that he does have that wall towards people, right? Mm-hmm. Which again, the only people that he cared about to a degree died in an instant, which again, you kind of don't want to get close to someone in a world where people can die in an instant, so you kind of understand that type of hesitation or dickness. So, but go ahead, Isaac.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm completely with AJ on this one. As much I feel more sorry about his family than him. Than him in general, because they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can understand if you get to become a stoneless bastard,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, after that. That I will admit, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's still a dick.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that you will change, sort of like change character when you live with the people like like Power
Yes.
and Denji.
Yes. You have no choice. I love how as we move forward and learn more of the gun devil, like, so the idea is that there's pieces of bullets that are part of the gun devil's flesh, and it's very Inuyasha, right? With the weird stone that they're trying to catch. I don't the Shishome jewel, whatever it was called, that they're trying to get shards of it. That was kind of like the driving. That was the MacGuffin of the whole Inuyasha series, which I know that Isaac loves, and but I like the MacGuffin of the bullets, and how they're trying to find pieces of the gun devil to one day catch him and take him down. And we're introduced, of course, to more detail to team other members of Division 4, which is the name of the group that Denji belongs to. And they're going on the next arc where they're going to this hotel that apparently is eating up devil hunters. And Denji has made up, and Denji's just talking and bragging about how he's going to be celibate forever until someone offers a French kiss. Denji the horn dog, guys.
I wonder if you guys noticed something that I didn't think of when I read the manga.
What was
Did
that?
you notice the floor, specific floor, when they started to go? Wait, didn't you go up? That they got stuck in the specific floor. Did you catch what number it was?
8
Yes, and how does 8 look?
is infinite.
Yeah, it's an infinite.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I
infinite.
didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Until
it
I
was a good
saw the
touch.
episode.
Yeah, it was a great thing. That was awesome. And it's good that you mentioned that, because one of the things that I was going to mention is that, and I want your guys' take on this as we close the conversation on Chainsaw Man. One of the things that I love about the anime in particular is that the visual storytelling of this anime is superb. Like, there's a lot of show and not tell things in this anime that I find so interesting and so amazing. And like, one of those moments that captured my imagination when I rewatched the episode was specifically in this section, right, where they're going into the hotel, and there's a shot, no comments, right, when they kill the little head fiend, and it stains the wall with blood. You have a shot of Himeno talking about her powers or whatever, and you kind of have the camera focus on the blood. And then when they start walking and going up the stairs and they come back, the one thing that particular devil hunter focuses on is not the number of the floor. The first thing he looks at is the blood stain. It's a very particular and brilliant storytelling thing, which, by the way, it's anime only. It's not in the book. So there's a lot of story bits that they're adding to expand the story and make it interesting, even when they're condensing so many chapters into one episode. Because, guys, this particular episode captures chapter 12 all the way to 15 and a half.
Lies.
Yeah.
Lies.
Yeah. It's 12, 13, 14, and 15. That's 4.5 chapters in one episode. It's fascinating how they do it. And tell me that the
agreed.
cliffhanger is not perfect. They stopped in the middle of a chapter and the cliffhanger feels perfect.
Yeah, cliffhanger is perfect. Or what do you think, AJ?
No,
I just blew your mind, right?
you really did. First off, I didn't even realize that him looking at the blood stain first wasn't in the manga. For some reason, I thought I saw that in the manga. I'm
No, I
going back.
checked. I checked, bro. It
I'm
was. It was.
legit
It was
going
I
back.
was surprised. Yeah.
So, there's little details like that that just it's really amazing.
Yeah. It shows the care that they're putting into this, and the relationships, the character. I mean, you got to think how much money did it go into making these 12 episodes, and
Figure that out.
and not only that, we're only in episode 5, so we're almost halfway through the core, right, or through the
Yeah.
season, and we've already covered 15 and a half chapters. That's a lot. That's a lot. Like one of the things that Mike always says on My Hero is that normally they cover 2 to maybe 3 chapters per episode. So that's probably 6 more chapters more than My Hero, almost. But the pacing again, I have this feeling that for some reason they're building it in a way where it's meant to be watched all at once. Which I kind of want to do that exercise also when it's over. Like, let's just watch it and see if my theory holds water. And of course, it ends with a great ending, which the ending literally just teases the whole infinite of things. And it teases a lot of stuff that's coming. Because I don't know if you guys notice, and this is a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler. One of the pieces of art of Infinity, if I'm not mistaken, is an infinite chainsaw.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like there's this picture. I might be wrong. It's either thorns or a chainsaw, but it's like a strand that goes in a warped infinity thing, or a warped like an infinity symbol, but it's like warped and like bent, and it's made of a chainsaw, which is kind of like a tease and a spoiler for what's coming. Which, again,
That's cool.
yeah, they're just crazy. Like the whole imagery with the horses, the different kinds of horses. Again, did you guys notice that there's kind of like a pun at Deadpool here? There's a plush unicorn in this ending.
Huh?
Which I don't know if it's a pun at Deadpool, but I wouldn't be surprised. Because when you think, again, it's spoilers for next week's episode, but it's not a spoiler. I'm trying to say in the least spoilery fashion. There's something that happens that links Infinity not only to the floor, but to Denji's character. And those that have read the manga know what I'm talking about. But one of the things about that distinguishes Deadpool is what? He can't die. He has like almost unlimited regeneration. And one of the motifs that distinguish Deadpool. What does he love? Unicorns.
I mean, there is a
And not only
reference
unicorns,
to-
there's plushy unicorns. A plush. Deadpool 2, he has a plush unicorn, which he uses for special time. But go
This
ahead,
is ending
Isaac.
6, right?
What was that?
This is ending 6, right?
This is ending 5. This is the 5th
Five,
episode.
five.
Yeah, ending 5, yeah.
This is the same show that has a reference to Attack of the Killing Tomatoes.
Yes.
Opening. So
Yeah,
I can believe it's a Deadpool reference.
yeah. But how it relates to the show is just fascinating. But yeah, I don't know, guys. Do you guys have anything else on Chainsaw Man?
No, but I'm looking at this ending and you're right. It does look like chainsaws.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, bro. It's crazy how they're finding creative, artistic ways to just explore and expand. And it's funny because, for example, a show like Naruto, you get a different opening like every 15, 20 episodes. You probably get there's 15 seasons of Naruto. You probably get a opening. You could probably get 2 or 3 openings per season, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're getting a new ending with every chapter and they're doing that job actually also makes the season, that's only 5 episodes so far, feel so much bigger. Like a lot, it actually gives it that wide scope. That's a lot is going on. And I like how they're using all their time wisely. Which again, it goes also back to the point where I think I was mentioning it. I think, Isaac, we talked about this when we covered the Entertainment District arc of Demon Slayer, is that they use every single frame of time in every single episode to tell as much of the story they can. Even if the credits are rolling, they keep telling the story. Does that make sense?
Sounds about right.
So I'm glad that they're doing and finding creative ways to do that to make this experience so unique, which also you can tell, because I think you mentioned it, Isaac, that the president of MAPPA like had a big stake and love for Chainsaw Man, and it shows that they're pulling out all the stops, and I love it.
Unless I've been misinformed, it's supposed to be that read the first volume of Chainsaw Man, called Shueisha, and said, "I want every anything right to what this mangaka is doing."
Nice. It was so awesome.
If that's correct, well, it shall be interesting to see how they adapt Fire Punch, because that one is more fucked up than Chainsaw Man, arguably.
Hey, it's a shonen. No, no, it's not. But guys, that was our coverage of Chainsaw Man. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. AJ, this has been awesome. Thank you for joining us for this conversation on Chainsaw Man. Loved your input. It's awesome. We're going to before we take a quick break, we want to let you guys know we appreciate everything you guys do for us. If you like what we do, make sure you click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to click on the bell for notifications so you don't miss any coverage of Chainsaw Man or every other anime that we do every single week. We do My Hero Academia. We're doing Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War. We're doing Spy Family. And we're doing other topics throughout the week, every single week. And if you want to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and listen to us go. If you love what we do, make sure you follow and give us a 5-star review. Let us know why you love us, because if you give us a 5-star review, other people will find us and hopefully love us too. And we can keep the conversation of awesome anime goodness going. Now, before we go to our next section, AJ, if people wanted to find you, where can they find you?
Well, you can always find me on Twitter, AJ Geeks Vibes. I'm always on Twitter, so that's where you can find me most of the time.
Awesome. Isaac, where can people find you?
Well, written work, Woman Entertainment, Twitter, Emblemaniac, and the pod. Twitter is the Amateur Otaku Pod.
And you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter, and of course, you can find us on Twitter at the Amateur Otaku Pod. Thank you for being awesome, guys. We will see you next time. In the 2 weeks more. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with more Chainsaw Man coverage. Boobs. Well done. We will come back in 2 weeks with more Chainsaw Man coverage. We also come back next Sunday with more My Hero Academia and more Spy X Family. You guys have it awesome. We will see you next time. Peace.